Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Bob Pompeani. We have a lot to get into, including Le'Veon Bell, the franchise tag. That's coming up here soon. Something's got to happen. We'll talk about that. But the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown is a myriad of pirate topics, and we'll get into that one by one with our panel tonight, left to right on your television screen. Here you go. Andrew Fillipponi at the top from 93.7 The Fan, and also The Pony Show on CBS Radio nationally on Sundays. Tune in where they talk all LeBron James and nothing else. Down below, Jeff Hathhorn, sports director at 93.7 The Fan, and below him it's Chris Mack, host of the pregame show, the postgame show. He's had a lot of activity going on this week with regard
to the most fun, Pom.
The postgame. Well, yes. Welcome to the Ireland
Chuck
Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Yeah,
he's on hold right now.
Chuck is not happy. In fact, everyone I've heard recently. We'll get into that now, and we'll start with the Pirates winning today, salvaging one game, but they tread water. They're 12.5 out. The first thing I want to get into, Chris Mack, and I know you had a lot of conversation on this, was what happened yesterday with Jameson Taillon, who basically said what a lot of people, I think, felt, in that he was yanked way too soon. Now, today the Pirates had their perspective on that. What do you think? And should he be able to go deeper into games and learn how to deal with those situations instead of always being yanked?
Absolutely, he should be allowed to go deeper into ball games, and yesterday was a perfect opportunity to do so. He'd only thrown 65 pitches going into the 7th inning. He got himself in some trouble. If this guy's going to be your #1 starter moving forward, he's got to learn how to work himself out of that trouble, and he said as much after the ball game. I talked to him again this morning. He said he had a conversation with Clint Hurdle this morning, and as Jameson Taillon is wont to do, was very politically correct about it, said he understands their point of view. But their point of view, as Neil Huntington outlined earlier today, was, well, his numbers in the 7th inning and the third time through the order. Well, he'd only thrown 65
Chris,
pitches.
Has he seen his bullpen's numbers? They've got,
exactly.
Their bullpen ERA is 12 out of 15 National League teams. This is not the Shark Tank, okay? This is the Goldfish Bowl. Those guys stink. Bob, I know this is kind of a bigger picture point and more of a macro opinion on what you asked. But to me, this is another exhibit, B or C or D, as to why I'm pretty much fed up with Clint Hurdle. I know it's not all on him. The owner is the guy that always takes the brunt of the blame, and he should. But I'm tired of Hurdle. If they had not given him a 4-year extension, I'd be screaming right now for them to fire him.
They still could if they wanted to.
Bob, I'm sick of him. To me, he's worn out his welcome here. They gave him 8 years in Colorado where he actually took the team to the World Series.
But that was his only winning season there, Pony. That was it. That one year they went to the World Series.
Okay.
That was it. So I'm agreeing with you, and I think it's important to note there are some guys in the clubhouse who are very close to agreeing with that sentiment as well. This guy's very close. The thread is very, very close to breaking on his hold of this clubhouse. There are veterans in that clubhouse that are not happy with the way things have gone. We heard David Freese and Josh Harrison talk about it way back in February. Now, those guys may not be here in 3 weeks, so maybe it doesn't matter to Neil Huntington and to Frank Coonelly and to ownership what Clint Hurdle's standing in the clubhouse is, but there are some guys that are fed up with it, and it takes a very special brand of BS, for lack of a better way to put it, to get Jameson Taillon upset, and he was upset. So to me, look, he's losing the clubhouse right now.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said about Taillon, but as far as Hurdle goes, how about those guys, those veterans that might be on the line, like producing, going out and having a good year? How about like showing with their play where their mouth is or where their thoughts are? No one's going to manage this team to much better than what they are right now. They're not good. They don't have a good roster.
And part of that is true. But when you have guys of high pedigree and all of them underachieve, somebody has to be held responsible for that. When Chris Letang and Sidney Crosby were terrible, Mike Johnston was responsible for that. Gregory Polanco, Starling Marte, Jameson Taillon, Josh Bell, those aren't all scrub players.
No, but we're not talking about Mike Johnston. We're talking about a guy who has managed in the World Series and took this team to 3 straight playoff appearances. But we're not talking about a guy out of juniors. We're talking about a guy who's done it in the major league.
Okay, well, then I'll use another Penguins example. The Penguins fired Dan Bilesma, and he won a Stanley Cup there. And he didn't forget how to coach. They just thought he was not the right person for that organization anymore. And that's how I feel about Clint Hurdle right now.
And there's also a point to be made here, as Jeff mentioned, about the talent that's been assembled and what they've done, whether it be the veterans who haven't shown up this year in large part, other than Francisco Cervelli for the first 2 months and Corey Dickerson for the first 2 months. They do not have – it's time to reevaluate what some of these guys are. You gave long-term contracts to Starling Marte and Gregory Polanco with the belief that these guys were going to be at the core of this team's success moving forward. Neither one of them are those guys, especially not Polanco, who can't remain focused out in right field long enough to properly play a ball down wall or even a fly ball hit right at him.
Well, but his manager keeps shoehorning him into the lineup, Chris.
And I don't know, that's the manager's fault, but I think there's plenty of blame to go around because I don't think it's his decision and his decision alone. This team is tied to those guys, and they are going to keep force-feeding us those guys until they readily admit. And Neil Huntington admitted today that he's made mistakes over the last 3 years. Now, that admission should have come long ago, but the next step is not doubling down on those mistakes. You make a mistake, cut bait, move on from that mistake. And those contracts to Starling Marte and Gregory Polanco right now are mistakes.
That's a good point. Jeff, real quick, I'm going to ask you about something Huntington also said today, which is really something he put out there, and everyone knows it's going to happen. That is, they're going to be sellers at the deadline once again. But for him to pretty much say, if less things change dramatically, that's what's going to happen is kind of unusual. But my question would be, what do they have to sell, and what do they have to get from those assets? Because to me, there's not much out there that you're going to get from any one of them.
You know, there's going to be a lot of sticker shock because people always like to have these hypotheticals. Well, you can trade Jordy Mercer for this great prospect, or you can trade Josh Harrison or Francisco Cervelli, and you're going to get this great haul in return. There are a lot of bad teams in Major League Baseball, and there's a lot of competition for selling. There's not a lot out there unless they're willing to throw a Vasquez, or they're willing to throw somebody that's going to have a little bit more into a package deal than maybe they're going to get much back. But what you're going to be looking in return for some of those veterans are A-ball players.
Yeah, you're going to get guys that you don't know enough about, and you're certainly not going to get Major League ready players. That's why, again, I go back to the point I just made, not to be redundant, but the things that you might get the most for, the assets you might get the most for, are guys that you don't necessarily want to give up on yet if you're Neil Huntington. And to be honest, you need to be ready to give up on. You trade Starling Marte right now, you're going to get a decent return. You're going to get the return that keeps you beyond competitive next year.
I don't know about that, Chris.
You don't think? I mean, we can argue about Polanco and what he might get you, but Marte, I think, is a different story.
But to Jeff's point, and this is why, you know, in this regard, it's not all Hurdle's fault. You go player by player on this roster, and I'm not sure they have many guys that would start for good teams. Who would want Josh Harrison when he's a $10 million player, he's hitting .250, his on-base percentage is under .300? Who wants that? Francisco Cervelli, having a career year offensively, has missed a third of the season and he has concussion issues. Gregory Polanco has the baseball IQ of a Pony League player. I mean, so you go position by position. Like, I want to get rid of these guys just because I want a fresh start. And frankly, in many of their cases, I don't care what they're getting back. I just want them on the first bus out of town.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Andrew. I think it's addition by subtraction with some of these guys. Even guys that have been good for you that you're not going to re-sign. If you can get Newman, if you can get Kramer, if you can get other guys some at-bats in the majors over the last couple of months that won't matter in the standings, that's better for them.
All right, we're going to continue this and talk about the Pirate lone all-star when we come back, and whether or not they should have even had an all-star based on how the system works. We'll get into that in a second. But when an owner puts together a perfect team, they know it's going to be a winner. And that must be how Rob Cochran feels about number one Cochran Nissan. Number one Cochran, just in case you did not hear this, just acquired Pittsburgh East Nissan and West Hills Nissan, giving them 3 local Nissan stores in Pittsburgh's first ever Nissan Super Group. The triple grand play opening event is going on now with 3 times the pricing, power, and 3 times the inventory as well. So check it out. Number one Cochran Nissan, Monroeville, West Hills, and South Hills. Vasquez All-Star next. The number one Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by number one Cochran. Go one better. And by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.